Welcome to Panels and Borders. I'm Dominic. So I saw this article come up on Inverse, and the article is Rise of Skywalker Leaks Suggests a Dune Parallel. 3 reasons why it works. So right away I'm going to say this author must have like really long arms after this, because man, he sure stretched. Is Rey the next Skywalker, or is she secretly the Kwisatz Haderach? So this is just pure fluff piece. This isn't any news. It's just pure clickbait. It's just to get you to click on the article. And but with that being said, still some of these like garbage articles are kind of fun to go through. So I'm gonna see what kind of stretching this guy does to try to link these two. So I thought it'd be fun to go through it anyway. So let's see what the article has to say. The latest nutty rumor about the rise of Skywalker will make a lot of hardcore fans of the epic sci-fi Frank Herbert novel Dune raise their eyebrows. One specific creature rumored to appear in the last episodic Star Wars movie seems like a direct lift from the mythology of Dune. Is this happening? Will Star Wars overtly borrow from Dune as it wraps up the Skywalker saga? In some senses, because Star Wars has already borrowed heavily from Herbert's landmark novel and its various adaptations, it would almost be crazy if The Rise of Skywalker didn't subtly rip off Dune, even by accident. But with these new rumors, it's possible Rey will end up less like Luke Skywalker and more like Paul Atreides. Now, just to talk about his first, right off the bat, there's no way Rey is going to be anything like Paul Atreides. Disney doesn't have the stones for it. Let's see what they go on to say. Speculative spoilers ahead, you've been warned. An entire series of essays could be devoted to the idea that Star Wars wouldn't exist without Dune. From the preponderance of desert planets in Star Wars to the notion of religious chosen ones to telepathic abilities that can influence others, to the soft science fiction approach to world building. Claiming that Star Wars is a big old Dune ripoff is hardly a new hobby, and if you watch enough YouTube videos or cleverly edited documentaries, you will probably find yourself believing George Lucas ripped off Dune entirely. The only problem with this line of reasoning is that he didn't, and it's not true. Okay, well, I agree with the author of this article on that point. Star Wars, yes, is influenced by Dune. There's no doubt about that, especially Tatooine and the moisture farms and the Jedi's mind tricks. But the Jedi were also inspired by George Lucas is a big fan of the Lensman Chronicles, and that was a big inspiration on Star Wars, and so is Flash Gordon. There's a lot of other science fiction stuff that George Lucas was into, and a lot of stuff from comic books and stuff like that influenced a lot of things in Star Wars, not just Dune alone. Star Wars might resemble Dune if you squint, but thematically it's not similar at all. If Lucas is guilty of anything, it's borrowing the aesthetics and plot devices of Dune. And arguably, Lucas made that aesthetic more accessible to a mainstream movie audience. That's not a dig against any and all versions of Dune, including future versions, but it's just kind of how it is. Star Wars is more popular than Dune, because its ideas are presented in a way that is much more popular than Dune. Having said that, if The Rise of Skywalker didn't overtly tip its hat to Dune, there would be a kind of symmetric beauty to that, which could, in theory, bring the larger nerd universe into balance. So, I've talked about that. That's one of the things about Star Wars is designed to be a blockbuster movie. Dune was designed to be a novel. So, I mean, a novel, you can have a more niche audience because, a novel doesn't have to bring in millions and millions and millions of dollars worldwide like Star Wars can, even though Dune probably has sold millions of copies. But it's a totally different ball game. Writing a novel and writing like a novel, science fiction novels are probably more tailored to a niche audience. It's a bit more of a niche than the general movie-going audience, where Star Wars is designed for broad appeal. Kind of thing. So it's much more commercialized than what Dune is. On Sunday, the fan site Making Star Wars published new rumors about the rise of Skywalker, which largely focused on the idea that Rey will eventually gain the last name Skywalker. more or less as a tribute to Luke and everything he stands for. The rumors also suggest that Rey will gain new powers, including but not limited to the ability to heal people and also shoot force lightning from her fingertips. So, yeah, that's a rumor. I don't know how much stock you can put in any of these rumors. I know before The Last Jedi came, I watched a lot of videos that were done by that guy Mike Zero, and he had all kinds of crazy rumors, which unfortunately some of the rumors he was talking about on his channel were actually way better than what the actual movie was. I would have rather see some of those rumors made into an actual movie. But as far as I don't really see, well, this doesn't really have anything to do with Dune. I guess, well, it kind of does. He's trying to link this to Dune somehow, but I'm sort of getting sidetracked here. But so I'll just keep on moving. Let's get into how these specific developments match up with Dune. Here's 3 parallels between that story and these Star Wars Episode 9 leaks, and what it might mean for the end of the Skywalker saga. Okay, so here's his 3 Dune connections. Number 3, sandworms. Did I mention the new rumors have a sandworm? There's a sandworm in these rumors. The leak from Making Star Wars suggests that Rey, Finn, and Poe will face a sandworm in the movie. In Dune, giant sandworms guard the precious substance known as the spice. If you are really badass, at one with nature, you can learn how to ride a sandworm, not just avoid them. If Rey learns how to ride a sandworm or makes peace with one, she'll be well on her way to becoming a kind of space messiah. That's not going to happen in the movie. I guarantee you that. She's not going to jump on the back of a sandworm and ride it. That's just nonsense. He's talking here now. That's not going to happen. It could be like a Sarlacc pit thing or something like that. The Sarlacc pit was probably, but that was like a stationary creature. It couldn't move through the sand. It just had to wait for something to fall in there or catch it with its tentacles. So yeah, that's not going to happen. Number 2, new powers. The rumor also suggests that Rey will gain new powers, including the ability to heal people and possibly force lightning. In Dune, after drinking the water of life, Paul Atreides gains all sorts of new powers, including but not limited to mind control, extreme clairvoyance, and creepy all-blue glowing eyes. The point is gaining powers beyond what is considered normal, and a pretty common sci-fi hero trope. And in Dune, Paul's new powers and status as a messiah are presented as a double-edged sword. Okay, well, this guy seems like he just has a very shallow knowledge of Dune. So he didn't get all of his powers from drinking the water of life. And he definitely didn't get the blue eyes from that. That was just like the spice consumption. Anyone who stays on Arrakis long enough, every spice is in everything. So your blood gets so saturated that you get the blue within blue eyes. And as for the powers of mind control and seeing into the future, and he had all that before he drank the water of life. Because he was able to use the voice, because he had Bene Gesserit training, and his consciousness was already expanding because of his exposure to the high amounts of spice on Arrakis. Basically, why he had to take the water of life in the book is because basically his prescience had hit a wall and he couldn't see past it. There was a point in the future he couldn't see past, like a dark point, and it had to do with the Emperor and stuff like that. And so he had to break through that, or he felt that if he didn't break through that, everything was going to be lost. He didn't know how to proceed forward. And the only way to break through that and see into the future further and break through that blind spot he had of the future was to drink the water of life. And then he could access both pathways of memory. He could access the pathway that was blocked to the Bene Gesserit. So yeah, that's a stretch there. It's not like there's going to be nothing like that in this new Star Wars. It's like that. Because so many people think Rey will become some kind of ultimate balance between light and dark. All of that is very similar to how the original Dune novel plays out. Paul becomes a being of immense power, but he's also unable to keep his followers from going too far. In a sense, if you become a great Jedi like Luke or Anakin or maybe Rey, it's a similar problem. You can achieve balance and possibly even win a revolution, but then what? So yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, this would be really interesting. This would probably pull me in to actually see Star Wars Episode 9. If Rey became that, like basically took over the whole galaxy and became this ruler, and then slowly drifted over to the dark side or became some kind of strange gray Jedi or something like that, and then this big holy war proceeded after it in her name and all that kind of stuff. That would make for some interesting Star Wars movies, but Disney is going to play it way too safe, and that's not going to happen. This is going to have a very typical Disney ending. She's probably going to defeat Kylo Ren. He might turn good, or he might be killed off. I think he'll probably turn to the good side, and they'll defeat whatever the big bad guy will be together. If it's the Emperor, which seems like it's going to be, and then that's it. The good guys will win, and she'll go on to be a Jedi, and that's it. That'll be the end of it. And they're not gonna take that kind of chance, Disney. And the last one, name change. The latest rumor suggests that many fans have been speculating for ages that Rey will voluntarily give herself the last name Skywalker at the end of the film. The idea here is that Rey hasn't taken on this name because she's related to the family by blood, but because the name means something more, and she has become kind of like a title, like Sith or Jedi. So I don't really know how that's going to connect to Dune. Well, he tries to connect it because Paul takes on the role of the Kwisatz Haderach. In Dune, Paul Atreides takes 2 additional names throughout the course of the story, Muad'Dib, and eventually the title of the Kwisatz Haderach. Obviously, words like Jedi Master and Skywalker are a little easier to handle. But for all intents and purposes, these words have similar story purposes, assuming, of course, that Skywalker becomes a term to describe someone and not just a revived family name. The point is, though, Star Wars has borrowed many heroes' journeys tropes from myth. The idea of getting a new name or two is mostly something that has been available to the bad guys. So if Rey does claim a new name or title in The Rise of Skywalker, the journey of Star Wars looking similar to Dune to being a story very much like Dune will be complete. So that's his other stretch there, is if Rey takes on the name Skywalker, it's going to be similar to Muad'Dib becoming the Kwisatz Haderach. Well, Muad'Dib is his tribal name. That's his because he takes on the name of the Muad'Dib is the shadow of the mouse. So that's his Fremen name. Then he takes on another title, Usul, and that's his tribe name. And then Kwisatz Haderach, that's like a title that he takes on. But I mean, that's not only Dune, not just Dune is not the only book that's done that. There's a lot of other books and fiction where characters have changed names or become different characters and taken on other titles and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I think that's a real stretch with this article here about episode 9 borrowing heavily from Dune and why it would work and all that. And then he ends it off with, the only question left is, if Rise of Skywalker does overtly reference Dune, how will Denis Villeneuve feel about that? He probably won't give a crap. That would be my guess. So yeah, like I said, this is just like a fluff piece, just like, not to be taken serious at all. Just this is just the author having some fun and writing this out. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to go through it, just to see how he was going to try to link the episode 9 rumors together with the story of Dune. If Disney would never do that, make Rey a similar character to Paul, because they've already kind of did that in Star Wars. George Lucas did that with Anakin Skywalker. He was supposed to be this great chosen one, and he's supposed to be this great Jedi Knight and all this, and then he ended up turning bad, kind of like Paul. Well, Paul became corrupt, and the people around him, he attracted all these corrupt people, and then he, in the end, he ended up turning his back and going off into the desert and kind of going crazy. But yeah, so they've already kind of had a hero like that with, and there's other things in fiction, like another good story, the best story I've ever seen, which they did a much better job of showing a character that started off good and then by the end of the movie turning to the dark side and becoming something else. They did it in one movie, where the prequels did it in 3 movies. It's actually The Godfather. If you go and watch that movie, the character of Michael Corleone was, he started off an innocent, good guy, and he didn't want anything to do with his father's business. And then over the course of that movie, the storytelling, the way they carry that character through the movie, it's totally believable. It doesn't feel any way forced at all when he finally becomes the Don and turns to the dark side. That's the best example I've ever seen of a movie doing that. So if George Lucas was going to rip something off, he should have ripped off The Godfather for the prequels, because they did a really good job of organically showing someone who started off good and drifting over to the dark side. But yeah, so I thought it would be fun just to kind of run through this article and see what this author had to say. So that's everything I got to say in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I will see you at the next one. Thank you to all of my subscribers, and thank you for watching this video. And if you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to hit the bell icon for notification when new videos are uploaded.